happiness. Hello.
Okay, I was on mute. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, chào
Hello,
Nhi.
everybody. Thank you for joining the Zoom today. Just give a few more minutes. So I know Marianne, you've been in the Zoom several times already. I really appreciate your presence. Ji Ha, have you joined our Zoom in English before today?
Yes, I just joined a few days and I only listen but never talk because
Okay.
yeah,
Mm.
I know that I should be confident to share my opinions, my the lesson I just learned from you. I will try
Okay.
today.
Well, this is a perfect chance to practice. Do you want to share any of your learning since the last time that we spoke? Any new lesson that you have acquired that you have learned in it since the last week? Okay,
Yeah, just say it. Trong
lesson is the bài học. Okay,
ai có ai đâu. Toàn là
I
những
choose the word impression to express the tâm đắc, and ngộ ra is the I use the word realization. So lesson is anything new that you have learned throughout your day. After a lesson or after an encounter with another person, you just think about if you've learned anything new from that encounter with another person. So think about what new your impression immediately. Oh, what of all the things that you encounter during the day, of all the things that you encounter during a conversation with another person, which of those lessons are applicable that you can actually use? And most importantly, through your interaction, through all the lesson, did you come up with any new realization? Last week we talked about realization, right? It's a shift in perspective, a shift in the way you think, a change in your paradigm that causes a transformation, cause you to experience a new reality. You're living a new life. So in the past week, do you have anything, any lesson, any impression that you would like to share? This is your chance to practice.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Vương. I will share the lesson. The last two meeting I joined, but I impressed so much about the lesson. If we want to change other people, it's a beginning of suffering. So to want to change themselves is the beginning of happiness. So I imagine about my life. Sometimes my husband and I have sometimes problems. I remember that when that time I compare my husband with others. Why do why does he is not rich or had something like as a successful man, and I feel angry with him, and I always show my face terrible to him. But once I realized that when I want other, that I feel bad. I want other like the way I want. I feel bad. That thing I accept my husband like the way he is, and I write down 10 things great for him. He love me. He care me. He's a good father of my children. Yeah, like that. So I turn myself and and start to change myself. change myself, not change him. Yeah, that change him. And after 21 day, I practice write down 10 times to grateful for my husband. I realize happiness inside myself and never want to train other because I can't train others. I can't change any situation around me. That only thing I that change about my attitude. My yeah, that start to have happiness inside myself. And when I see your lesson, Mr. Wood, I remember that and that I learned again this lesson. And now with my children, I don't want to make a problem like before. I accept them and change the way, change my attitude when I look at them and have them learn everything better. My English is not good to share, but that I try. Thank you so much.
Well, your
No,
English is perfect.
yeah, this
And
is
you look happy, right? Marianne, do you see that you look really happy, right?
Yeah.
yeah, excellent, excellent. I couldn't speak like you when I was here like 5 years. I live in US for 5 years. I couldn't speak like you. So you
Yeah.
are
Mhm.
good. Exactly.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Actually, I just study English when I was 39. I start to learn English again. That's from ABC. I don't know anything, but because I want to help my children, so I try to study, and until now I can speak a little. I have 3 children, and they are triplets. They are
Wow.
triplets. Yeah. Now they are 13
Oh, wow.
together. Yeah, and that is my big motivation. Encourage me study English. Learn English, and I can help them.
Very
Let me
good.
ask
Yeah.
you this. Let me ask you this. So once you started to learn to change yourself and not try to change other people, right? Do you notice any change in other people? Did your husband change?
Yeah.
Or was he the same?
If I can train myself, I
Yeah,
can change the world.
your experience. Did your has your husband changed or has he stayed the same?
Yeah, my husband changed. When I changed, my
There you
husband
go.
changed.
Yeah. So there
I
is,
changed
there is
first.
a power in um changing yourself. Be the change that you want to see in the world. That is a quote from Mahatma Gandhi. Yeah, so just by changing yourself, changing your perception about other people, just a review from last week, right? The way we inquire about other people and things has a direction. But if we ask, why is my husband so bad? Why are my children don't listening to me? Then we are inquiring along a negative direction, and we're going to get a negative or an undesirable outcome. But if we inquire along a positive way, how can I change in such a way that will make my relationship better? Then we will actually create a better outcome, a better reality. There is a power in not just thinking positively, but inquiring along a positive line of inquiry. So yeah, thank you very much for sharing that. Let's give people a few more minutes before we officially start today's lesson. So last week we mentioned about the idea of 2 types of knowledge. The kind of knowledge that is information. You go to school, You learn math, you learn English, you learn Vietnamese, you learn science. We gain a lot of information. As we grow up, we get a lot of information. We get more and more information. But even though we gain more information, we gain more knowledge, our lives doesn't necessarily improve. There's no definite change, right? So what we try to go for is a kind of knowledge that transforms. I call it transformative knowledge. And that kind of knowledge will give us a certain paradigm shift, a certain new realization. Interestingly enough, the word realization has two meanings. Last week we talked about enlightenment, right? We talked at the total realization is like being awakened, like the Buddha. We talked about enlightenment is kind of like seeing the light, right? You've been in the dark for so long, and you see the light, and you are realizing something. But the word realization also has something really interesting. A second meaning, if you look up the dictionary, so to realize something, it also has this word real, and it has the word eyes. To make something real. Real is reality, right? Reality. Eyes is to make. So what you really, when you realize something, you make a new reality. We're actually living in a new reality every time we realize something. Small realization will cause a small shift in our reality. Great big realization cause a great big shift in reality.
Good morning, teacher.
Good morning, Mr. Hua. Thank you for joining us again. I love to see your happy face. I'm very appreciative of
I'm very
all
happy
your
to be talk.
participation.
Yes.
Love those great smiley faces.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very
So
much.
to realize something is to create a new reality. Or another way you could say that, remember, to realize is to awaken, right? Awaken. To awaken. So to realize is to awake to a new reality. So it's very important that we go through our lives and each day see if we can realize some new thing. Okay. Later on, next week we're going to talk about a principle where you will actively and proactively create a new reality. Okay, we'll talk about the root cause formula for the root cause of life. But today, just a brief review. Okay, for those of you who are just joining us, thank you for joining us. I am very appreciative and grateful for you taking the time. I'm also very thankful to your families and colleagues and whoever have to take up the responsibility that you have to fulfill so that you have the time to join our Zoom today. And I'm honored by your presence. So, last chance to share any lesson before we start to the new. There's some new material today. So those of you who are joining us just now, do you have anything you want to share? Any lesson that you have learned in the last week? Anything that has been impressionable with you that you find applicable? And did you realize anything new? Whether it's throughout your day or from the actual lesson that we've learned. Does anybody want to say anything? Yeah, no? Okay. I appreciate those of you who have your camera on. This recording will be posted on the internet for the world to see. I know some of you may be shy, that's okay. But if you have your camera on, it is a gift of your appearance It is a gift of your learning. You are going to cause other people to learn better, and you're going to transform other people if you are willing to have your camera open. Okay, so alrighty.
Can I
Yeah.
thank
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know. Could remember, but like one person was saying about going against the current. Sometimes it's good. So I was thinking maybe he was talking about the 6 barriers, like the fear of criticism or judgment. Like let's say I said, oh, I want to open a restaurant, but I don't know how to cook. So my husband said, "Oh yeah, right. Like you don't know how to cook. Now you want to open a restaurant. So that's he discouraged my dream, right? So in order to go against the or break the barriers, I would ask people that have experience about opening the restaurant, read more books, gather, even take classes about how to open a business, how to maintain the business, something like that. So I think that's what it meant by sometimes going against the current is good. Is that how that's what I understood, but I just
Yeah.
want to say some, yeah.
So that's not what the lesson about going the current is about. The lesson about the current is about identifying universal principles and natural laws that allow us to get to where we want in a efficient and fast way without having to pay the price of pain and suffering and going back to where we were before. You're confusing two different lessons. One is the idea of breaking through the egg, right? Breaking through the eggs for some people requires some effort in order to grow, to become a bigger, better person, right? A little chicken that has to put some effort in to break out of the shell. And that part of growth is actually part of universal principles and natural law. It is a little bit of effort that steps out of your comfort zone. Okay, we won't go in deep into that until later, but that little bit of effort of stepping out of your comfort zone, removing your own barrier, using your own effort, is itself a natural law. Okay. When we were talking about the current and the going against the flow, we were talking about doing things that has no positive result again and again and again and expecting positive result. There are people who work and work and work and work and they never get better. There are people who keep on trying to change their spouses and their relationship never get better. That is the idea of the price that you have to pay when you go against certain natural law and universal principle. Okay. Does that kind of make it a little clearer? Yeah.
Yeah, I get it now. Yeah,
In fact, last week I remember Antayan was, I think you're a gym person, right? And he was talking about sometime when you go to the gym and you experience, pain a little bit when you exercise. In reality, people who go to the gym and they work out and they get big muscle, as soon as they stop exercising, after a few weeks, the muscle goes away, right? They lose the strength. So the question here is, if you are going to apply the idea of the flow, the idea of universal principles and natural law, the idea of causality, cause and effect, cause and condition and effect, then if you want to achieve strength and health, how can you go about doing that so that as soon as you stop, you don't go back to where you were? How do you can maintain a level of health that is more sustainable? Okay, and as we go through this, we will have more realization, we'll have more lesson, and that will be more applicable to life as well. Okay, so thank you for the
That's good.
question. I hope that is clear. We jump into today's lesson, and as before, I always generate the purpose of our meeting. Okay, the purpose of our meeting is to raise the level of our inner awareness. Why? So that we can ultimately create peace, right? Experience health, experience happiness for ourselves. And this is a course, this is a 21-day roadmap, where this, I think today is number 3. This is a roadmap for total transformation. Okay, there is a promise that the end of the 21 day, some of us, hopefully all of us, will have experienced some sort of transformation. Already some of us have experienced, little transformation and every step of the way. But at the end, the idea is to experience a transformed life. Okay, life that is healthy and happy. Okay, I think that's the goal. That is why all of us is here. We have certain desire to have a healthy and happy life. And we let's see. Last week, hang on. So last week we mentioned the law of causality, right? Causality. Causality. Okay. So causality has that formula. Okay. It says that if you have a good seed and you put it in good condition, here I'm going to use positive affinity. What you're going to get is a life that is desirable. Okay, so desired, yes, outcome. Okay, all right. And causality is a natural law that affects all areas of life. You have the sort of physical world. We have the religion. Can't see that, huh? Okay, let's do a different color. Let's do that one. There you go.
I think you should change the color of the ink.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So physical world, okay. And then we have religion and spirituality. Most people go through life, we experience this perspective, and then there is the human life experience. Okay, human life experience or human experience. So here we're focusing on the human experience. Happiness is a human experience, good health, financial freedom, things like that. Okay, and earlier I remember Miss Ha mentioned about you know things and you forget things. We're going to talk about our circle of knowledge. So today's material is about, we're going to go with the principle. Just gonna call it circle of knowledge. This circle of knowledge is a principle that I'm going to share with you today, has the benefit of helping us plant a good seed, which in this context is about ourselves. Okay? It's going to help us understand our relationship with others. Right? So when you understand yourself, when you understand your relationship with other people, you're going to get a life we want. Pretty simple. Okay? The law of causality is very, very simple. If you understand yourself, if you understand other people, then you're eventually going to get the kind of life that you want. So, circle of knowledge, we're going to begin with the stuff that we know. We all know things, right? We all know things. We know how to speak English, we know how to speak Vietnamese, but we also know that we know, right? So it is part of our knowledge. We also know that we know. Everything that we know that we know. Okay? You think about all the things that you know. So I'm going to put it into a circle. This is one circle representing all that we know that we know. We know things, but we also forget them. Okay? We know things that we also forget them. In fact, after a while, do you see that we forget more things than we actually know? Most of us have gone through elementary school, we went through middle school, some of us went to high school and college. We learned math, we learned physics, we learned science. By now, we have forgotten most of it already. So the stuff that we know but we have forgotten is more than the stuff that we know right now. Do we agree? Yeah? Yeah, so we have forgotten more than we know, and that's okay. And then there are a lot of stuff that we don't know. We don't know. Okay, I don't know how to fly an airplane. Okay, I don't know how to speak Russian or Chinese. But I also know that I don't know. It is part of my awareness and knowledge that I don't know how to speak Chinese or Russian or fly an airplane. And would you agree that the stuff that we don't know, but we know that we don't know, is a lot bigger than the stuff that we already forgot and the stuff that we currently know? Does that make sense so far?
Totally agree.
Yeah? Yeah, agree?
Yeah,
So,
totally agree.
yeah, okay. And then there's stuff that we don't know, but we don't even know that we don't know. So can anybody tell me one thing that they don't know that they don't know?
Cannot.
Perfect science. You can't, okay? You can't imagine anything that you don't know that you don't know. It is not part of your awareness. It's way out there. And would you agree that all the things that we don't know that we don't even know is so big, could be almost infinite, vast, right? Unlimited stuff that we don't know that we don't know. So we shouldn't circle it, but just for the sake of easy reference, we're just gonna put it on the outside circle, okay? But we agree that this circle of I don't know is so much bigger than all the stuff that we know, all the stuff that we have forgotten, and all the stuff that we know that we don't know. Yeah? So here's the thing. Consider all the things that we know and all the things that we don't know, and compare that to the stuff that we don't know. Right? If there's no circle around this I don't know, then how much of this totality of possible knowledge do we really have? Do we really know? Take a moment, right? This is a moment where some of us may experience some new realization. That the totality of all the knowledge that there is possible to know, much of it is stuff that we don't even know that we don't even know. So the stuff that we know is very limited, right? So you can write this statement. You can write this next statement. Write this one down and let me know what you feel. I only know what I know. Go ahead and write that statement down and see if you can share any impression. Just one single statement. I only know what I know. I only know what I know. What does that make you feel? So if you say, I only know what I know, in the context of all the possible things that there are to know, I only know what I know. How does that make you feel?
We feel so tiny in this
So
world.
tiny. Yeah, pretty tiny, huh? Yeah, pretty humble. Okay, pretty humble. And right. But here's the beauty about it. If you know what you know, okay, not only that you feel tiny and humbling, but what possibility does that open up for you? If I only know what I know, what possibility can that open up for you? If somebody doesn't know what they know, and somebody say or hear something, and they don't realize that they know about it or don't know about it, it's easy to be led by other people. Have you ever experienced an instant when somebody asks you a question, maybe your children ask you a question, and you just find a need to answer the question even though you don't know the answer? Have you ever anybody experienced that? I have an 8-year-old and he's pretty curious. He constantly asks me questions all the time. And oftentimes I just feel the need to answer every question that a child asks, even though I don't actually have a good answer to all of them. It becomes pretty tiring trying to answer all the questions that are asked of you. But if you recognize that I only know what I know, then you can say, I don't know. That is a possible answer. I don't know. And as soon as you say I don't know, that's kind of freeing. You are not being pulled along by the question of other people. You are not being manipulated by the by the question that other people ask you, and you can say I don't know, and it stopped right there. You can actually be very free. Yeah.
But for the child, I would say, ask Google.
Say
Or
what? Say again.
we find out together. I don't
There
know,
you
but
go. So
let's
that
find
is a
out
new
together.
possibility. Okay, so on the perfect. Thank you so much, Hita, for sharing that. Okay, so on the one hand, it is very freeing to know that, okay, I don't know that. And then it opens up a new possibility to get to know it with the other person. It can become a new journey of discovery. So that you can together, you can expand your circle of knowledge. Okay, you can expand what you know. Okay, if you know what you don't know, then you can expand what you know. Okay. So as we go through life and we are constantly aware of what we know and what we don't know, it creates, more possibility for us not only to expand our knowledge, but to decide what to know. Nowadays, we are constantly bombarded by information. I remember early on we mentioned the different type of knowledge. There are informative knowledge and there are transformative knowledge. And with informative knowledge alone, the social media, the TV, the television, the contact that we have with other people, we are constantly being bombarded by information. And if we take everything in, after a while, it gets kind of heavy. We can tend to get confused, right? And not a lot of those knowledge are beneficial to us. So if you have a definite clarity, so an understanding of I only know what I know, and if I choose to know something, then I can specifically go about learning what I want to know and not waste my time and energy and effort with stuff that does not benefit me. Right? So next time you turn on Facebook, you can constantly choose what you know and what you don't want to know. Right? And so if after a while and you expand knowledge in ways that you can take full control of, there are knowledge that we constantly get and we don't really have a good grasp of it, and we can't really control what comes into our mind. And then we'd be, it's possible to be very overwhelmed by it. Some people are overwhelmed by knowledge. But if we can proactively choose what to know, then we can become a knowledgeable person. Okay, there's a concept called erudition. I'm not gonna write that down at this point just yet. But so there are knowledge about the physical world. We learn that in school, right? There are knowledge about the religion and spirituality. We learn that in our religion, if those of us who have religion. And then there are knowledge about human experience. This 21-day course is designed to give us the kind of knowledge about the human experience that will enable us to experience the transformation at the end of it. Okay. So here's a story about a rich businessman who has a friend who is a poor rice farmer. Okay, a rich businessman with a rice farmer who is a friend. And the rich businessman, one day he visits a friend. And the rich businessman has a lot of business knowledge about business. And he speaks to his friend, and he he asked a friend, this farmer friend seemed to be very happy, even though he's not very knowledgeable. Right? He doesn't have a lot of money, but he seems to be very happy. And the rich business friend asked his farmer friend, why are you so happy? And then the farmer say, well, let me ask you this. What's the difference between a wife and a lover? What's the difference between a wife and a lover? And the businessman said, I don't know. And the rice farmer say, well, the wife is somebody you sleep with every night because you have to sleep with every night. A lover is somebody you sleep with every night, but you want to sleep with every night. So the rice farmer asked the rich businessman, what's the difference between a job and career? The businessman doesn't really know how to answer. And the farmer said, well, a job is the work that you do every day because you have to work. A career is the kind of work that you do because you want to work. And so with that little story, does that open any new realization for you today? Does anybody get anything from that little story? There's a rich businessman who knows how to make a lot of money. There's a rice farmer who doesn't have any education, doesn't have any business, but he's also happy. It is because the knowledge that the rice farmer have is the knowledge that can make him happy. He understood the difference between a wife and a lover. He understood the difference between a job and a career. Whereas a rich businessman, he only knows how to make money. So that brings us to the comparison between us and other people, right? I only know what I know, and other people only know what they know. Okay, the rich businessman only know what he knows, and the rice farmer only know what he knows. The rich businessman knows how to make money, but the rice farmer has a kind of knowledge at the same time that makes him happy, right? So it's another story. Another story. So the same rich businessman goes to visit a friend, and he has to cross a river. Okay, he crossed a river, and in order to cross a river, he has to ride a little boat that is being rowed by a ferryman. Okay, a ferryman, for those of you who are learning the language, a ferryman is a person who ferry. Okay, ferry is a boat that goes across the river. And so this rich businessman, very educated man, crossed a river, and he needs the help of a ferryman who will row the boat across the river. And as they were going, this rich guy, very knowledgeable, very successful, asked the ferryman, "Do you know anything about business?" The ferryman said, "I don't really know much about business. I only know how to row the boat." And the rich business guy say, "Well, if you learn how to do business, you can expand your ferry operation, and you can actually make a lot of money ferrying people across the river." And the ferryman just smiled. And as they keep on going, the businessman will ask another question. "Do you know about the cultures of the world?" Because he had been traveling a lot. There are different culture in the world, Vietnamese culture, American culture. There are a lot of wonderful people, many things to see. The ferryman saying, "Well, I only know this boat and this river. So I don't really have much use for the cultures of the world." And as they were going across the river, the boat started to leak. It is a rickety old boat. And the rich businessman is starting to get worried. He tells the ferryman, "Hey, ferryman, the boat seems to be leaking. We're taking on water. What can we do?" And the ferryman simply smiled and said, "Do you know how to swim?" And the ferryman say, "Oh no, I don't know how to swim." And so as the boat was taking on water, finally the boat sank, and the ferryman had to carry the rich businessman onto shore. So once again, that story illustrates the idea that we know what we know, and other people know what they know. And there's really no point in comparison how much you know or how much the other person know. On the one hand, it makes us very humble to know that we don't know much. But at the same time, do we need to feel inferior against other people? Right? The ferryman, who doesn't know anything about business, who doesn't know anything about the cultures of the world, only need to know the boat and know how to swim. Whereas the rich businessman knows a lot, but he doesn't know how to swim. So in the context of I know what I know and what people know, what they only know, then you don't have to feel inferior. You don't have to feel overconfident. You don't have to feel arrogant either. And so that helps us remove some of these barriers. Remember, lack of knowledge, lack of means. So if any of you who are experience a sort of, you have a perception that I don't know enough compared to other people, I don't have enough means, then you can take that story and say, oh, okay, I know what I know, but other people, they only know what they know. The things that I know could bring me happiness and health. Other people may know how to do business, other people may know the culture of the world, but if they don't understand the kind of knowledge that bring them happiness and good health and good relationship, then it's not really worth comparing in the first place, right? Does that make sense so far? Yeah, do you see that you can remove at least one barrier, the perception of lack of knowledge, simply by realizing that other people only know what they know. So next time we speak to a person whom we have previously think of as a person who's great knowledge or great power, just recognize that that person, they have their knowledge, but they are also limited by their own circle of knowledge. They don't know everything. And there are the kind of knowledge that we are trying to go after that way bringing us peace and happiness and health. And if we can expand that circle, then we can actually make a difference to other people's life as well. Let me see the chat. Not with businessmen. Okay. All right. So a wit business person is a person who is holistically rich, right? A wit business person is a person who is rich in wisdom, in attitude, in character, and integrity, in power, in physique, and as well as material possession. So that is going to be a very rich person, especially if they're rich in knowledge and wisdom. All right. So okay. So this circle. So the first key point that I did want to get across is that I only know what I know. There's no need to be too inferior about it. There's no need to be too arrogant or prideful about it. And it opens up a lot of possibility for us to expand our own circle of knowledge. We can go after the kind of knowledge that we want. As soon as we recognize that we don't know something, we can go after it. Okay. There's no muddleness, there's no fuzziness, there's no confusion when we know what we don't know and we know what we know. Now, when it comes, so the next part of the sharing is this. Have you ever spoken to another person and you want to share some knowledge, that you want to share some opinion? Or if you're a salesperson and you want to sell some products or service to another person, and what you say, the other person doesn't seem to understand or care. Have you ever tried to tell your children something and they don't want to listen? Or you try to share an idea, an opinion with your spouse, and he or she is not interested, right? Yeah, I see your head shaking. So yeah, most of us have encountered a situation in which we interact with another person and we try to share our knowledge, our belief, and doesn't influence them. Okay, and we're going to explore that a little bit. So for now, let's imagine this blue circle of knowledge is other people's knowledge, right? We already know that they have their own circle of knowledge. For us, if we interact with another person, would you agree that we can only speak to them from our circle of knowledge? I know that I know. Can you speak to other people using what you've already forgot? No, right? You can't speak to other person because you've forgotten things. Can you speak to another person using what you don't know? No, you cannot speak to another person using what you don't know. So Would you agree that we can only speak to another person from the circle of I know that I know? Right? We can only use our own knowledge when we speak to other person. But here's the problem. If we use what we know and we speak to another person, several possibilities may happen. When we speak to another person, what we know may touch upon what they already know. What we say, what we share with another person, and it happens to touch upon the circle of what they know that they know, several things may happen. On the one hand, they may agree with you. Great. Okay, they may agree with what you say, your knowledge happen to coincide with what they know, that they know. It also the case where you speak to somebody and you touch upon the circle of knowledge and they disagree with you. They know that they know, but they disagree with you. Then you run into a situation where you are what? Arguing about your knowledge and perspective. So your point doesn't come across. So let's not worry about the part where they disagree with us. Let's just assume that they already know the thing that you're telling them. But here's the thing. If you are telling somebody something that they already know, then what's the value in telling them? They already have it. You haven't given them anything new. There's no value in telling somebody something that they already know. We haven't contributed any value, any transformation to another person when we say something and they already know it, right? That is, if we use our circle of knowledge, we speak from what we know. There's no value when we speak to another person. They may agree or disagree, and after a while they will be bored, and you walk away from the conversation having not contributed any value to another person. No transformation would take place. If we speak to another person from our circle of knowledge, and we happen to touch upon the part that they have forgotten, things that they have known but they have forgotten, what are some things that could possibly happen? You remind them. Oh, okay. I used to know that, but I've forgotten, but now you remind them. Great. You have just reminded another person some knowledge, some fact that they have forgotten. Fine. But here's the thing. Why did they forget in the first place? If the knowledge that they had known but have already forgotten in the first place, that is because they didn't use it or it's not important to them. I used to be really good at math. I used to learn calculus. I used to learn algebra, differential equation. I learned linear equation, advanced engineering math. But I've forgotten all of them because I don't use them. It's not relevant to my life. If anybody were to teach me calculus and differential equation again, that's fine. I would remember it, but I would still not use it, and then I would forget it again. So if you speak from your circle of knowledge, you might touch upon the circle of another person for having forgotten, and it still does not contribute any value to their life. All right? And if you speak from your circle of knowledge, it may touch upon their circle of what they don't know. Okay? So this is something that they don't know, but they know that they don't know. Okay, let's say another person don't know how to fly an airplane, and you know how to fly an airplane, and you tell them everything there is to know about how to fly an airplane. Great. They now know how to fly an airplane, but they know that they don't know how to fly an airplane. But the fact that they don't know how to fly an airplane, they still don't know it, is because it's not important to them, important enough for them to get to know it in the first place. If that person had wanted to fly an airplane, then they would have learned it. But they didn't bother to go learn it. That's why they still don't know about it. And when we talk to them about it, it may be interesting at first, but if it is not relevant to their life, if they weren't interested in the first place, then they will have forgotten it very soon. And then once again, we did not contribute any value to another person's life. Right? And then last possibility, if we speak from our circle of knowledge of our own knowing and knowing, I know that I know, and you happen to touch upon the part of another person that they don't even know that they don't know about it. Okay, what could possibly happen? Have you ever heard a foreign language that you have never heard before? Right? Have you ever heard, for me, it's if you have ever heard a foreign language that you have never heard before, then your brain can't process it. It's kind of like a mental paralysis. If you tell somebody something that they don't even know that they don't know it, it will come into the brain and the brain won't know how to process it. It's like hearing a completely foreign language. You have no preconception of what the words mean. You can't even guess what it means. So what information, what knowledge you give to another person, it's gonna be blank. They will be paralyzed, mentally paralyzed as soon as they hear you talk to them about it. And that is why in our interaction previously, before we understood this circle of knowledge, our interaction with other people oftentimes have been ineffective because we speak from our own knowing. It touch upon what they know already. They know, interesting or not interested. They may disagree or agree, but it didn't contribute any value to their life. It may touch upon what they have already forgotten. You've reminded them, but they had forgotten them in the first place, so it's not important. So they would forget again. If we touch upon something that they know that they don't know, that they may be interested in at first, but they will have forgotten it later because it's not important in the first place. Otherwise, they would have gone and gained that knowledge on their own. And finally, if you talk to another person and you touch upon what they don't know that they don't know, they experience mental paralysis. And so here's a story of a wise young man, a knowledgeable young man, okay? A man who has a lot of knowledge. He knows a lot and he knows that he knows. So this young man, having a thirst for knowledge, goes to a Zen temple. And he goes in search of, masters of knowledge, and he meets a Zen master. And while he at the temple, he noticed that the Zen master was reading some books, and he wants to get to know the master. So he approached the master, and he asked the master, what are you reading? And the master said, "Oh, I'm reading some scriptures, but I don't really remember what I read anyway." So the master said, "I've read it, but I've forgotten it already." And so this young man, having vast knowledge, in fact, he has knowledge of how to read books, how to memorize things quickly, how to retain information. He proceeded to offer the knowledge of how to remember information to the master. And he said, "Master, can I show you how to read book and remember?" And the master said, "Sure, why not? Go ahead." So the young man proceeded to explain to the great master how to read book and how to memorize everything you learn. So after about half an hour, the master indulged him in letting him speak. The master said, "To be honest with you, it is not so much that I can't remember what I read. It is that I had intentionally erased my mind, erased my memory after I read." So the master said, "I read and I erased what I read from my mind." So this young scholar, this very knowledgeable scholar, was very surprised. He said, "Master, what are you doing? Why would you waste time reading and and erase your mind. And the master say, well, think about it. If I retain knowledge in my mind, then I would have a lot of knowledge that I know. But here, people come to me seeking for advice, seeking for wisdom. They wanting to learn how to live in such a way that is healthy and happy. And if I speak to them from my own knowledge, then they will not understand. But if I speak to them from their knowledge, then they will understand. Okay, so you can write that down. This is a quote from our master. He was a young man, a very knowledgeable young man. He met this master, and this master, after having read the book, the master said to him that he erase his mind so that if I speak from my own knowledge, then people will not understand. But if I speak from the knowledge of others, then they will understand. It turns out that the master said that many different type of people come to the Zen temple in search of knowledge and wisdom. Some of them are very simple rice farmers. Some of them are average citizens. And then there are great scholars. They all have different ranges of knowledge. In fact, there are some students who knew more about the scripture than the masters. But if I speak to other people only from what I know, then they won't understand. Some of the students, right? If I speak from what I know, then it'll touch upon what they already know. If I speak and other people already know more than me, then I'm not going to be able to help anybody. So if I speak from my own knowledge, then people will not understand. But in order to help other people, I have to speak to them from the circle of their knowledge. Okay? And so our teacher, Mr. Tuan, had spent many years trying to grapple with this concept of speaking to another person from their circle of knowledge, from their knowledge instead of from his own knowledge. And he come up with this formula. So in order to speak to another person, okay, so in order to help another person know something, you have to determine their belief. In order to help people comprehend something, you have to determine what they know. In order to help people realize something, you have to look for the inquiry. And finally, if you want to help somebody transform, you have to base it on their desire. So here's an example. If a elementary student asks you to help them do a math problem, right? How can you help a student do the math problem if they don't believe that you actually know how to do math? Little children learn very quickly. Do you notice that little children learn very quickly? Right? Little kids learn very quickly because they just believe you. Things that happen, they just believe everything that you say. As adults, we get older and we start to question and we start to doubt. And as a result, information comes in not through a sort of a filter. Our ability to know things gets limited because our belief is not very stable. In the in the ancient days, people learn things actually, very quickly, partly because they believe in their teacher. Nowadays, so many sources of information, it is difficult for us to know anything that is deep and meaningful because we have difficulty believing in things. For those of you who are here in this Zoom, you may have been introduced to it by certain friends, right? Right, your friends, your colleagues, somebody introduced you to this teaching, and is it not through your belief in them? They said, "Hey, this is good material. This is very beneficial for you to come and learn." You believe them, and you come and you learn. But if you didn't believe your friend, then you would not have come, and you would not have come to know this material. So if you want anybody to know anything, if you have any information to share, you have to establish the belief. If a person has a strong sense of belief in religion and spirituality, and you want to share information to them, you have to recognize that they like to speak in terms of religion and spirituality, their sense of belief. Use that to introduce your knowledge. If another person likes science and the stuff in the physical world, right, then you have to use science based on their belief of science in order to introduce any knowledge to them. Let's think about that for a moment. Okay. If you try to teach a child a math problem, you have to recognize that they understood, or they have to believe in you. Okay. If you try to explain a concept that is more complicated, trying to help somebody comprehend something, then we have to base on what they already know. For example, the example of a math problem. If a child asks you to help them with a complicated math problem, then you have to establish what he already knows about math. Does he know that 1 + 1 = 2? That 2 × 2 = 4? So that based on that basic steps of what they already know, you can help them comprehend something. If you just jump in and you tell people things based on what you know and not establish, not understand what they already know, then you cannot coordinate, you cannot walk them through understanding. Does that make sense? It's same thing when you're trying to sell a product. When you go to, let's say you go to a car dealership and you want to buy a car, one of the first thing that the car dealer would ask you is what what are your needs? What are you looking for? Have you bought any car before? They ask you a series of questions to establish what you believe, what you know, what your desire, and what are your inquiry. Last week we already talked about realization and inquiry. Right? If you want anybody to realize anything new, you have to find out what it is that they have been wondering and pondering, what kind of question they have been having for a long time. And most importantly, if you're trying to convince a person to change, which means if you convince the person to have some new behavior, buy a product, or change their lifestyle or anything, then we have to establish their desire. All of you here come here because you have some desire for better health and happy life. It is easier for me to share this knowledge with you because you already have a desire. If I go and randomly tell people about this philosophy of root education without establishing their desire, they're not going to take it. Right? Many of you here are mentor. You are going to share this experience, this knowledge with other people. Before you share this knowledge and philosophy with other people, you have to establish, do they really want it? Do they really want a better life? Do they really want a happier marriage? Do they want great health? Do they want financial freedom? You have to establish what they desire before you share the knowledge that will transform their life. Yeah? So that's pretty much all I have for today. Does anybody have any questions so far? A short principle, but very important one. When we speak to other people, okay, what I try to do, and as those of you who are going to be mentors and master, when you speak to other people, you establish what they already know. Okay, try to find out what they already know, and you try to expand the circle of knowledge. Okay, if they've forgotten something, then you can remind them, and what that does is expand the circle of knowledge. If they don't know something, then you can talk to them and expand their knowledge, and now they know more. And if the information that you're trying to tell them falls into this big circle of don't know, you can't just jump in and tell them that right away because they're going to experience mental paralysis. You kind of have to take the step. First, you expand what they know. And then if there's anything that they've forgotten, you remind them about what they've forgotten. If there's something that they don't know, but they know that don't know, you touch upon that. And then finally, you can give a person something that they don't know. Only after you have taken the time to expand the circle of knowledge, fill in that what they've forgotten, and give them what they know that they don't know. Do we want to sort of practice or test this out? So does anyone want to see if we can practice this process and see if I can help expand your knowledge? Let's talk about, since we are interested in health and happiness. Okay, how about, let's do health. Does anybody want to volunteer to interact with me about health? And see if we can use this process to expand your knowledge about health and maybe transform.
Yes.
So anybody want to interact with me right now? Marianne? Okay,
Yes.
Marianne. Okay. So Marianne. So we're going to talk about health. Okay. Let's do another piece of paper. So we're going to talk about health. Let me see if I can help you expand some knowledge about health. So what do you know about health so far?
I remember the definition of health. You mentioned before, health is the what is it? The state of what is it? Physical, mental, health, and no disease or something like that. Free of disease or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, it's already the circle of I know but forgot.
Exactly. Yeah.
Excuse
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, okay. So physical, mental, okay, and social. So by asking you that question, I have just established what you know that you know and what you know that you forgot. You forgot the social part, and now I have just reminded you that when it comes to health, there's physical, mental, and social. Okay, and then not merely the absence of the disease or infirmity. So let's just say, just gonna put in here, not absent of disease. Okay, disease and infirmities, those are considered darkness. We're using the principle of light, so we're not going to focus on disease or infirmity. We're going to focus on the light. Okay,
Right.
so the World Health Organization, as a reminder, I'm going to expand your know and forgot, and then I'm going to expand your know now. Okay, as a reminder, the World Health Organization defined health as a state of complete satisfaction with respect to physical, mental, and social well-being. Okay, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So physical, mental, and social well-being. Okay, so now let's see if we can expand each of this part. So physical health. Okay, what do you know about physical health?
You fit,
Fit?
like, yeah, fit, like, physically fit, you look healthy, I don't want to use a negative word. Yeah, look healthy, happy, young, youthful, energetic, something
Yeah.
like that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So good. Okay. So I established that you understood the word fit. Okay. Fit, has a certain quality to it. And from your understanding of fit, I'm going to offer the following attribute or how do you say? Yeah, attribute when it comes to physical health. With physical health, in order to be fit, you want to work on strength. Would you say a fit person is strong?
Mm-hmm.
Would you say a fit person is speed, fast, right? Think of the football player, the soccer player, would you say they are pretty fit? They're really fast.
Mhm.
Marathon runners. Oh, marathon run, that is stamina. Would you say a person who's fit has stamina? Okay, stamina is the ability to last a long time when you're doing physical activity. Somebody who's really strong and fast may not last a long time. Marathon runner can go for long distance. But marathon runner might not be very fast. They might not be very strong. But a state of complete physical health includes strength, speed, stamina, stability. What's called stability. Okay, this is balance. Okay, stability or balance. Okay. Is there another one? Strength, speed, stamina, and stability. Okay, I think there's a fifth one. I'll remember it when it comes. Okay. So I have just expanded your knowledge about physical health. If you just say fit, then that's kind of vague. Is it kind of vague?
Yeah.
Right. But if you can break it down to say strength, speed, stamina, and stability. And furthermore, you can define the word fit. You can define measurement. Okay. In order to measure measurement. How do you find fit? You have, chest size, waist size, hip size, height, weight, body mass index, right?
Mhm.
So if you want to be fit, you're going to have to put numbers to them. You can do your own research into what it means to be fit. What are the appropriate numbers that is a appropriate match for your your body size, your height, your weight. What kind of weight do you want? If you say I just want to be fit, but you have no conception of what weight you want to be, how high you want to be, how fast you want to be, how strong you want to be, how stamina how much you want to last, stability, right? Left and right ability to balance. Right, so we have expanded your knowledge of physical health. Does that help you go about acquiring the kind of physical health you want? Right?
Mhm.
So mental health. Okay, let's move on to mental health. When you think about mental health, what are some words that come ahead? You said happiness. What else? If we can break down happiness, what are some things that are required to be happy?
Inner peace.
Inner peace. There you go. I'm going to use the word serenity. Serenity is inner peace. Anything else? How about I'm going to use the word we will learn later, but magnanimity. A state of being magnanimous. A person who is generous and tolerant and welcoming of other people. Do you find those people to be happy? To be generous? Do you see generous people being happy? Happy people being generous? Magnanimous. To be magnanimous. Okay, magnanimity. What about people who exhibit honoring gratitude? Do you find that people who are very grateful to be happy? Mental health.
Mhm.
Science has been able to measure the vibrational energy frequency of this state of being, a state of inner peace, a state of being magnanimous, a state of being grateful, to be super high energy. And people who have this high vibrational energy tend to be very happy. They tend to attract positive affinity. They attract people to them, and their lives are very positive, very good. What about social relationship? When you think about social relationship, what are some things that would make a social relationship? What are some words?
You are likable.
Likable, right? Friendly,
Yeah, friendly, likable.
okay, likable. On a more close, friendly is, this friendly and likable is on a more friend level. But if you want a deeper relationship, how about words like intimacy? Right? Let's think about marriage relationship. Would you think a good marriage relationship is when the couple is friendly with each other? Would they have intimacy? Right? In a social relationship, do you want a relationship that is trusting? Right? In a social relationship, if you trust somebody, how would you feel? How would you feel when you're in a relationship where the other person and you are very trusting to each other? What does that feel like?
You at peace.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, you're at peace. You can do things together. If you have a friend that you trust and they introduce you to this education, do you need to bother questioning them? Do you need to bother wondering if that's the right thing to do? No. My wife and I, we are working on our financial life, trying to enrich ourselves, not only on a non-material way, but also material way. And my wife comes and tell me, look, I have this investment idea, and this is what I need to do. This is what we need to do. And I say, honey, I trust you. Don't bother me with the numbers. I trust you're gonna do it. I don't want to know the number. I just want to know that I trust you and we're gonna do it. You see how easy it is, how light life can be when you have in a relationship where you can trust the other person. On the other hand, oh man, what relationship would you have when you can't even trust your spouse to spend money? You know, some married couples have separate bank account because they can't trust the other person to spend the main account. I trust my wife to spend the money for our housing, for our food, our clothing, and I trust her to build our finance. Right now, I am the main earner. I make more money than my wife, but I know that she has the capability, she has the integrity, she has the attitude, the character, the kind of richness inside of her. She has serenity, magnanimity. She has the right kind of mental attitude that will be able to help us achieve a state of financial freedom. So don't bother me with the numbers. I just know that in 3 years we're going to be rich. That's what my wife said.
Right.
Okay, so what I've just done is expand your knowledge from what you know but you've forgotten, from what you know but you didn't know. Right? Some of us didn't know some of these words, and now your circle of knowledge has just expanded. And here's the thing: it may or may not have happened, but did that cause any new realization for anybody? Anybody?
May I have a question, Frank?
Yes.
So we just expand the circle of knowledge to people if they have the desire on this. For example, I have a friend, a very close friend. So he don't want to get married because
Okay.
he think marriage is hell. And
Marriage
then
is hell. Okay, that's what he said. Okay.
he have to suffer from everything from the marriage, and he don't have a good picture about marriage. So how can we talk to him about a happy marriage in this case? Because he don't want, he don't have a desire on this, and he feel happy if he don't get married.
Is he happy though when he doesn't get married?
Yeah, he happy, but his family and many relatives that want him to get married, but he feel happy when he doesn't get married.
If he's happy without being married, why are you trying to make him unhappy?
Does he look happy though? Right? Does he
If he's
really?
happy,
Yeah.
but not being married, why are you trying to make him unhappy?
Yeah, but every time he meet friend or people, he talk about marriage is not good.
Okay. Yeah, I know where
That
you're
he
going.
make
Okay.
everybody nervous and scared about marriage.
Yeah. So, yeah. So it's not so much that he doesn't want to be married. Okay. Would you agree that maybe he does want to be married? But the question that you want to ask is not whether should be married or not. The question is, do you want to be happy? What do you know about happiness? He has certain belief about knowledge. Did he have past experience that is negative, right? Did he have bad marriage in the past? Or no? Or did he witnessed some friends or other people, or maybe he has its own experience of pain and loss, and or experience other people's pain and loss, so he has a certain belief about marriage.
Yeah.
That belief happens to
Mm.
be very negative. And when you have a certain belief that is negative and you're experiencing a life that is, undesirable, then you have to help him go back to the kind of inquiry that he's been asking all this time. So you have to kind of come to, first of all, establish what his belief. What does he really believe? And use that belief to share with him what you know, and then hopefully that we have a new knowledge about. Let's say he believes that marriage is bad, right? Marriage is hell. Is that what you just said? Marriage is hell. Right. If he has an existing belief that marriage is hell, then you can try to ask him, what does he really want? What does he really want? The kind of question, find out what his inquiry, he's been asking, the kind of question that has given him a realization that marriage is hell.
Yeah.
He's been asking the kind of question that has given him a realization that is a negative outcome. So in order to help him, you have to go back to his belief, find out what he knows, and see if he truly comprehend what he knows. Some people are not actually understanding, or they don't actually know what they know. That's why it's important that we know what we know and we know what we don't know. Somewhere along his experience, he has been experiencing things and he has come to conclusion, he has come to realization that is negative. But the only way to help him, if you believe that marriage, is something that he wants, the only way to do that is to begin with what he believes, and then share your own experience about what you know and your own experience about marriage relationship. Find out what he knows, use what he knows, and see if you can help him understand the reality of happy marriage. Maybe he doesn't even know about happy marriage, right? All he knows is the negative stuff. His knowledge, I know what I know. His knowledge is the fight, the argument, the disagreement, the sadness, the unhappiness that marriage people experience. His circle of knowledge. And so when we talk to him about not a happy marriage, it may fall into the I don't know. If I go to tell him, oh, I have a great, wonderful marriage, my wife and I trust my wife to the point where she can just take the money and invest, and I don't care. To him, it could be, I don't know what I don't. It give him mental paralysis. If I didn't speak to him and I didn't know where he come from, what his knowledge is, right? If I just share with him my reality, what I've just shared with you, it might fall into I don't know. To him it's outside of his comprehension, because he has never had any conception of what it means to have a good marriage. So the only way is to use this formula. The next time you
Okay.
interact with him, go back and find out what he really believes to be marriage, and see if you can point out how he has been inquiring. Oftentimes, people who have bad experience about marriage, they have imprinted those images from their own parents. Maybe their parents have bad marriages, so they only know the negative side of things, and their parent only learn the negative sides of things. It is often the case that divorced couple will give birth to children who grow up to get married and get divorced, and you will find a series of divorce after divorce after divorce of generational parent, children, grandchildren. They continue to experience, and they only imprint what they know. They don't have a conception of what the good marriage is about. They only know what unhappy marriage is about. And so they behave in such a way that mirror and reflect what they know, which will bring them to reality of an unhappy marriage. That's a fact. Children of divorced couple usually end up getting divorced, because that's the only thing they know how. They don't know the right way to go. They only know the wrong way to go. And so the only way to help a person transform, the only way to break that cycle, is to use this formula. Find out what it is that they know. If all they know is marriage is about fighting, then you have to first understand that that's what they know, and then share with them the other possibility. And then at some point, help them realize that, oh, they've been asking the wrong question. They may be asking the wrong question, like, why am my parent fighting all the time? Why am I fighting? Why is my spouse disagreeing with me all the time? It is a negative question that gives rise to a negative inquiry. And the negative inquiry that gives rise to a negative realization, and then a negative outcome. But in order to transform a person, that not everybody needs to know. The magic about this formula is that some people don't need to know, don't need to comprehend. They just need transformation. Find out if your friends truly desire a happy life. See if your friend actually want a marriage. He may say he doesn't want to get married because he thinks a marriage and life is hell. But if he truly desire it, then you can actually show him the possibility. Share stories about people who can be happy, and then you can actually affect a transformation without him understanding anything. You can break the cycle of the past. But for some people, they need to know. Some people, they need to comprehend. Some people, they need this process of knowing, comprehending, and realization before they will experience a transformation. Transformation is new behavior, new thought, new pattern.
Yeah.
Does that
Got it.
help?
Yeah.
That makes sense?
It have. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in
So there's
conclusion, I have to define his desire, whether he want a happy life or he want a happy marriage, right? And then I can
too, yeah.
start from his no circle.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But
Thank you.
remember remember the definition of the World Health Organization, that health a social well-being. Human beings were a bunch of animals who are social. We are social animal. It is rare that people are truly happy being single. It is rare. It doesn't, I'm not saying that it's not possible, but oftentimes people don't get married because of bad experiences in the past. They have certain paradigm about marriage that is preventing them from getting married. But even if they don't get married, they want some kind of social relationship. And you can help your friend achieve a state of social well-being by understanding what they really want. And you can just focus on what they want, or you can come and find out if he's the kind of person who needs the step-by-step comprehension and realization. Anybody else? Any other question or any lesson? So this is a chance to share and to ask question.
I think in order to change his way of thinking, you have to give him, you have to be the symbol of a happy marriage life. So, if you marry, then show him you have a happy family. Don't just talk, but he want to see the reality, right?
Before
Because
that,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Before
So-
we get to that part, okay, before we get to that part, I jumped ahead, and that's an important, a critical, important part that I forgot, and I do need to discuss. Before we even show somebody the possibility of a happy marriage, sometimes a person's belief, their paradigm is so, how do you say, so heavy, so thick, that they don't want to look at an example of happy marriage, right? Because the example of happy marriage all the time, yet they don't see it. They refuse to see it because their glasses, the lens that they wear, is
Mhm.
filtered with disappointment, with
Mhm.
unhappiness. And so even if you share with them, like as I just mentioned before, if you share with them the example of your happy marriage, it will fall into their don't know. They won't be able to process it. It's right in front of them, but they won't be able to process it. And so it won't cause any transformation. It won't initiate a desire to transform. Okay. And that's why in your process to speak to another person, in the process of finding out another person, what they know, what they believe, what their desires, what their inquiries are, we need to employ a right kind of attitude. We need to ask, okay, when we talk to another person, what do you know? How do you feel? You need to ask. But how do you ask? You ask with humbleness. This is important, and I'm glad I remember this. With humbleness and sincerity and sincere desire to know. Ask with humbleness and sincere desire to know the other person. Okay? When you're talking to another person, whether you're trying to sell a product or sell a service or convince a friend that a happy marriage is a better way to go, you have to begin by asking them with humbleness and the sincere desire to know them. When you ask with the humbleness, you are open, right? I know what I know. I only know what I know. You let go of the pride and arrogance. You're not attached to what you already know, right? You're not attached to what you already know. You're not, when you're talking to a person and trying to find out about them, you're not there trying to impose your own knowledge on another person. Before you impose your knowledge on another person, If you do that, it'll touch one of those circles and they're not going to understand or accept. You ask with humbleness. You set aside your ego, your own knowledge, and you initial desire to know them. And as you know them, your circle of knowledge about them expand. As you know them, your circle of knowledge about them expand, and so your ability to guide them is also going to expand. That's why I tell you the story about our master, the young, knowledgeable scholar who went and speak to the Zen master. The master, after reading books, he said he erased his mind. He emptied his memory. So every time he meets a person, it is as if it is a brand new encounter. He has no preconception about the person. He does not let his own knowledge dictate how he speaks with another person. So instead of letting your own knowledge and experience dictate how you speak to another person, ask. Ask with humbleness and a sincere desire to know about the other person. What's going to happen is that as you express yourself as a person of humbleness and humility and a sincere to know the friend, the person, they are going to open up. If you meet a person and you immediately try to persuade them, like the family of the friend had been trying to persuade them to get married, they're going to close up. They close up, the mind, the heart. But if you ask with humbleness and this sincere desire to know, then they will start to open up. They will open up about themselves. You will start to learn to know them. You would start to learn what they believe, what they already know. You would start to learn what they know, what they comprehend, what kind of inquiry, what kind of interrogative inquiry they have been asking for many, many years. And as you talk to a person and you are humble, what do you think is going to happen to a person who exhibits him or herself as a person of humility, humble? You do this. What you're doing when you're asking a person with humility and humbleness and desire to learn, you are establishing yourself as a person who is friendly, right? You are establishing yourself as a person who is trustworthy. You have just raised your level of affinity with another person. Remember causality, seed, affinity, and positive outcome. When you speak to another person with humility and desire to learn about them, you raise your affinity. And as you raise your affinity, the other person become more trusting. They become more open to gaining whatever it is knowledge that you want to impart, the one you want to give. It has become easier for your word to land in their hearts and mind. And when they have come to a point where they trust you completely, then you can just tell them what you want. This is how psychologists, psychiatrists, therapists, when a person with, let's say, mental health problem, any kind of marriage problem, they go to a therapist and they talk to the therapist and they just talk and the therapist just listen. The doctor just listen. The doctor of mental health just listen, and they'll ask questions that encourage the person to talk. And as the person talk, they feel like they can trust the doctor, they can trust the psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist will give them, at the very end, at the appropriate time, the psychiatrist or the doctor will give them advice, and they will listen, and they will get better. Same thing with priest, Christian minister, Catholic priest, Buddhist monks. People go to those people and they share with them their story, their problems, and they listen. They listen with openness, they listen with humility, and at some point, when they sense that the person with a problem has trust them enough, then they will give the advice, and that advice will be transformative. It will cause the other person to do something. They will be able to change their action and their behavior. But it requires asking with humbleness and desire sincerely to know.
Right, but then the first thing is they have to have a desire to transform, right? Like, okay, I have a desire to be happy, so that's why I go to see a therapist. So and that's in Mr. So and so fans. Yeah, I think he need to ask his fan. Okay, you have desire to be happy, desire to have a happy marriage life. If he have a desire, then right, then you can, then he will listen, right, and then he will open up. Is that how I understood it? Like you have to initiate the desire.
Yeah, you have to initiate the desire. Yeah.
Mhm.
But it all depends on the context, depends on the person. You can't just approach a person right away and ask them, "Do you have the desire?"
Right. But I mean,
Right.
in
Right.
that,
So every situation is different, and
right.
each of us is intelligent enough to begin with humility and humbleness. When you first meet your friend, you start out casual. How's it going? How's the day? How's the weather? And as you go through the time and you spend with them, you can start asking deeper and deeper questions, right? Get the other person open up. As we go along, at some point, you will learn to empty yourself. Okay, when we talk about wisdom, you will learn to empty yourself. You will learn to raise your knowledge and your wisdom to the level of inner peace, where you can understand another person deeply. Okay, that's what we're learning in the master course, and yeah, that's what all of those therapists and all those priests and all those monks employ. And they empty themselves so that when they speak to another person, they are not being burdened by their own personality. They're not being burdened by their own knowledge, their own opinion. And the only thing that exists is the other person. They are giving them the gift of their present. They're giving them the gift of their appearance. Okay.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Please tell me the difference between humbleness and humility.
Same thing.
Same thing. Now and
Just for now, just different spelling.
now adjective, I think.
Yeah, the same.
But they're both noun. But
Now,
Yeah.
to be humble. But the word humility is usually used in a more spiritual and religious context. You can use humbleness if you want. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Humility is a virtue. Humbleness is a virtue. Yeah, same thing.
Yes,
Just
sir.
different
so
spelling.
okay, I'm sorry. So to wrap up, to help Ante fans, I think from my point of view, I have to have a happy marriage first, right? So he looked at me and said, "Oh yeah, you have a happy marriage," and then you said, and then you can say, "Hey, yeah, what are your definition of happy marriage, right? If you have a horrible marriage and then you can't go out and tell people, you want to have a happy marriage." So that's what I mean. Like you have to be a same example. You have to inquire that quality first before you can help people transform, right? If you want people to transform to be a happy, happier, then you have to be a happy person, right? You have to be person first, right? So when you go out, then people feel that happiness from you. Then they said, hey, what make you so happy? What make you look so, bright and and positive. So that means that's why I initiate the desire. So in Ante case, fans, if Ante have a happy marriage, then you can tell, or you can help,
Yeah, of course.
that, right?
I have happy marriage, but
Oh
I
yeah,
agree with you that we have to initiate the design first, and also we have to make very clear his desires, that whether he want a happy life without marriage or
exactly.
a happy married life before we can talk to him later then.
Well, earlier we said that there is a circle of I don't know, they don't know. You can use yourself as an example. But if that person has no conception of what a happy marriage is, then they will not see your example as anything worth imitating.
Yeah, I
Catholic priests are not married. Buddhist monks are not married. Yet they can cause a transformation and give advice to people to go home and initiate happy marriage. So it is not the case that you having the reality of a happy marriage before you can help another person experience a happy marriage. Well, what we're learning here is to cause a transformation using the principle of circle of knowledge. Just by showing them what they know and don't know and their belief, you can cause them to transform using their own knowledge, their own reality. We're not talking about setting an example, because priests don't get married and monks don't get married, yet they can cause transformation for other people. Right? So that's why we're learning how to speak, to interact with another person in such a way that you can cause them to experience a transformation. And the only way to do that is to listen with the humbleness and the desire to know them. Jihad, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I want to share something, my opinion and my experience.
Yeah.
That the first your friend he had his experience in the past. I don't know, but exactly that now he thought marriage is not unhappy. So if we want to help him to the first have to break his belief that marriage is unhappy. So with my experience, when I live with my parents unhappy together, and inside myself, I think I'm married is unhappy. The same him. Until I after graduated university, I look around and want to change myself with my belief before married is unhappy. So inside myself, I look around. So what is happiness? What different happy marriage and unhappy marriage? That depend on the spouse, the partners with partners, or that's the way people live together, had a lot of problems, and they focus problem that every problem will happen again. And actually with my marriage now, sometimes we have problems the same, and I don't want my marriage, my relationship has the same my parents. So exactly yesterday, my husband and I had argument. We talk a lot, and finally find the best way to each other. It's about we choose happiness or to right or wrong, to happiness or to right or wrong, and we can create our future. So your friend that transform himself because he decide what I want to say, like he really don't want to get married because his experience in the past. So he had to turn back his experience and ask himself, it's true or not? So he will get his answer. And now turn back to the present. He want to be he can he create the model of himself like he want. I want to say that when I start to learn English, I create myself. I want to be a good speaker in English, so I do my best. So if he want to be a better person, want to get married with meet people, he focus how to say so sorry, Mr. Vương, I am confused about how to say.
That's fine. There is a strong right now, you know, in the room there is a strong desire to help the friend of Mr. Tae-an, right? Everybody here is kind of trying to give advice so how we can help our Tae-an's friend.
Yeah.
But
That's a hot
as we
topic
have
now.
already established, okay, to want to change others
Yeah.
is the
Yeah, exactly that I want
beginning.
to share.
Beginning of suffering.
Yeah.
Suffering. Okay. To want to change yourself is the beginning of happiness. There's a strong desire to want to help other people. That's good.
Yes.
But as long as you are trying to change another person, you're suffering. And other people can sense it. It is a negative notion. We will learn about positive and negative mental energy more later. But when you try to want to change another person, oftentimes it doesn't work because they can sense it. They don't know how to put words to it, but they don't respond to you because they know you're trying to change them. If you truly want to change the person, you have to learn to let go. You have to learn to let go of the desire to want to change. You have to learn to let go of the desire to change the other person. And as you learn to let go of your desire to change another person, your energy level is going to go up. They are going to feel more trusting toward you. They don't feel like you're trying to manipulate them. They don't feel like you're trying to change them. They will become more accepting and more open to whatever suggestion that you want to offer. And when your affinity with the other person is positive and at the right time, then you can offer the advice or the suggestion that will cause them to make a new action. But it begins with the willingness to suspend your desire to change the other person. It's a paradox. You're trying to change the other person, but you have to let go of the desire to change the other person. And at first, it can be a little hard, but we're so used, we're so attached to the desire to change other people. Especially, especially there are many people who have a lot of love for the people, a lot of compassion. We want to change the whole world, but as we allow ourselves to be manipulated by that desire, we are actually not going to be very effective. And the best way is to learn to suspend it. Just set it aside for a moment. Work on your affinity with the other person first before you work on changing the other person's behavior. And you work on yourself first. Become the kind of person that the other person would want to imitate. So if you have a happy marriage, become the kind of person that they would want to follow example. Just because you have a happy marriage doesn't mean the other person want to be happy like your happy marriage, because you haven't worked on being the kind of person that the other person want to be like. Do you get this point? I hope this causes a realization. Just because you have a happy reality doesn't mean the other person want that reality. It is because your happy reality is not enough. There are many more elements to it. There are the whole 7 holistic wealth that we need to work on. You need to raise your level of wisdom, you need to raise your level of attitude, raise your level of character, your integrity, your power and influence, your strength, in such a way that you become attractive to other people, that the other people want to become like you. Then when you say, right, do you notice that there are people that you really admire and you want to be like them, you want to imitate them? If your friend doesn't listen to you about marriage, then the friend doesn't want to be like you. You are not a role model yet.
I continue. Thank you so much. Now I aware something. I have an idea that I show him that we are what we eat. We are what we think. So because he believed that marriage is unhappy, so it's the same. So now you can change the way you think. You think marriage is happy, like me, like Thế Anh. Thế Anh had a happy marriage, right? Because I believe that marriage is happy, so I'm happy, and you believe that marriage is unhappy, so the same. So if you want to change like me, happy marriage, so he may aware something he know, so he transform and want to desire to get married, to be happy like Thế Anh. This is why. Thank you.
Let me ask you guys this. Oftentimes, when somebody introduce us to a product or a service or this lesson, is it the actual value of the product that caused you to take action, or is it the integrity of the other person? Is it not often the case where you listen to another person not because of what they say, but because of who they are? Right? If somebody says something and they could even say wrong or bad thing, but you trust the other person, then you believe them. Leaders and great salespeople and people who changed this world went to work on developing their person, their being, their way of being, their humanness in such a way that other people trust and believe them. And so whatever they say, people will take. So if you want your friend to you want to cause a transformation in terms of behavior of your friends or something like that, go to work on yourself to become the kind of person that the other friend would listen to. It is not what you say, it is who you are that will cause a change in other people. Did anybody get that? Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not what you
totally
know,
agree.
it's who you are. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, Frank, my friend, he trusting me only in the field of business, but
There
not
you
in
go.
the field of. So
Okay.
whenever I ask him to invest something with me, he totally agree, and he's never asking anything about it. He just invests. But in other fields, I'm not the model of him.
Okay. Yeah, so you can go to work on that aspect of your relationship, and the only way to do that is to use the formula. Okay. So next time you interact with them, instead of talking about business, you can talk a little bit more about relationship stuff, expand your knowledge about, expand his knowledge and your knowledge about relationship. And so he's gonna know more about you. He's gonna trust you more. You're gonna know about him. You're gonna understand him. You're gonna be able to speak to him in the language that he's going to understand when it comes to relationship. Right? Use the formula. Okay. Just think about what the other person believes. So, yeah. Any other question? Somebody tried to get Duncan to speak. Would you care to take on the challenge, Duncan? Would you like to say anything? Whether you have a question or if you have any lesson that you've learned, any new realization?
Oh no, thanks. I'm not much of a speaker. I've just like to take screenshots. Thanks for reminding me about the to want to change others is the beginning of suffering, because that's one I've heard before, and it's so true. Most of the pain in my life is because I'm trying to change or someone who doesn't want. Well, it's a good one. I fail to love, to let others voluntarily evolve. I tend to force them to evolve or to try, and it's always a failure because I forget that to want to change others is the beginning of suffering, like you said. So thanks for reminding me of that, and thanks for being here. But yeah, thanks for putting this on, Frank, and hosting.
Great. That's wonderful. I appreciate that. Yeah, and as we learn, as we share, just by you speaking that, reinforce some of our own understanding as well. Thank you very much, Duncan, for even saying that much. Okay. Anybody else before we say good night for tonight? Anybody else in the Zoom? We have quite a few people. Once again, I want to extend my gratitude to everybody who's taken the time. I think we had a pretty lively session today. Oh, hello. Who is that? You're on mute. Go ahead and unmute. Did you want to say anything? Hello? On Duncan's screen.
He forced me to talk.
He forced you to talk. Okay. What do you want to say?
He was suffering.
He's suffering. Okay.
Okay. Hi, Frank and everyone. It's me, Paula Phương Phang. I added him into the group before. Thank you for what you do, what you haven't done for English. Like sharing the knowledge in English that I appreciate, and I listen to your video, and I also want to be the one who can share in English. So I think everyone here is we had the same design, and I also asked Duncan to help me, but he need to study first, and all the things that he before the Zoom, before when he get into the Zoom, that I sent him the link that he really like, something like principle of light, and he kind of practiced, and he realized that what the way he say or what he say that can can get the results. So he loved to learn. Is it right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I appreciate that, and he always corrects my English that I yeah, and I said, okay, now you have time, you have opportunity to correct my English, and we are he is my ex-husband, but
My
we ex
Yep, I guess.
okay,
My ex.
and and we kind of like friends now, so that we take care of our children together. That we live in Brisbane, Australia, and welcome everyone to come here for a visit, and hopefully that we can see you around in the Zoom, and we can contribute to the world, that we share this knowledge to the world. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Paula.
Thank
Oh,
you.
Yeah, okay.
Oh,
let
Love
me
to
let me
go
leave
to Australia.
let me leave you guys with a little gift. This is not part of the WIT education, but I like to include it. After we ask with humbleness and sincere to know what, and they talk, right? You ask the person, and they tell you what do you need to do in order to know, right? We have already asked with humbleness and sincerity know, and they have to tell you, right? If your friend is telling you, what do you have to do in order to get what they tell you? When somebody tell you something, what do you have to do in order to receive what they tell you?
Just be quiet and listen.
There you go. Be quiet.
Just like a priest or a
Listen.
monk.
There you go.
Comes
You have
together,
to
listen.
shut up and listen.
Right, exactly.
Listen. Do you notice that a lot of time when somebody is speaking and we're listening, we're actually not listening to what they're saying. We're listening to our own voice in waiting to reply,
Mm-hmm. That's right.
especially in the debate, right? Yeah. We're listening. Our own thought is telling us something. We're waiting for them to stop, and then so you can say something. But to listen is to truly listen, to empty yourself in order to absorb everything that the other person said. And so I want to share a word in Chinese, and I think who is it you have? You still here? You can help me with this. Okay, so I'll try again. So there's this ear-looking thing. Okay, down here there's this. Over here there's perfect. This is the eye. Yeah, that's the word for eye. Right, look kind of like the eye. Yeah. This is number one. This is the heart. So once again, let me label that. Ear. This is perfect 10. Perfect. F-E, perfect. This is eyes. This is unity. Heart. To listen to somebody, it's not only the physical listening, but you listen with perfect sight, perfect eyes, complete absorption in unity with your heart. You listen with your ears, your eyes, your heart. To listen with your ears, with perfect sight, in unity with your heart. This is a person, this symbol, the 3 symbol here, this is heaven, human, earth. The person who connects heaven, human, and earth is a leader or king. Isn't that cool? Just a single word, listen, is a person who connects heaven, humanity, and the earth. Listen with your ears, your perfect eyesight, in unity with your heart. Do that.
Awesome.
You will understand your friend, understand what he knows, understand what he believes, help him to comprehend, find out his inquiry, find out his desire, cause him to transform. Yeah?
Thank you,
Okay.
Frank.
You're very
Look
welcome. Okay.
Smiling face with the heart look like smiling face.
It's amazing.
Huh?
The heart look like a smiling face,
There's a smiley face? Okay.
right?
Like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
All
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you
Okay,
so
I'll
much.
see you guys next week. Okay.
Thank
Next
you.
week
Thank
we will
you.
talk about the recipe for the root cause of life. We will learn to take full ownership of our life. Cause, consequence, cause, affinity, and desirable outcome. Okay. Root cause of life is going to be next week's topic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Greatly
Bye-bye.
appreciate you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Have a good night.
Thank
Thanks.
you, everyone.
See
Thank
you later.
you very much.
Bye bye.
Bye.